Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to share with you 4 mistakes that I see freight brokers making when trying to get shippers using LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm going to share with you 4 mistakes that I see freight brokers and freight agents making, I should say, when they're trying to get shippers using LinkedIn. That's the topic of today's free training. My name is Dennis Brown. For those of you that don't know me, I've been very blessed, been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Built 4 multi-million-dollar companies in my career in 4 different industries. One of those companies was a freight brokerage that I grew to over $80 million a year. I've done over $200 million as a freight broker throughout my career. And I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training online available. Okay, so you can check that out. We offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. Had thousands and thousands of students go through there, some amazing success stories, and very, very blessed to be here today. Thank you so much. All right, so today we're going to cover that topic. We're going to cover some mistakes I see people making on LinkedIn. But before we do that, hit me up in the comments. Let me know the city and state you're logging in from. The agenda today is going to go like this. 1, we're going to do the training. Then we're going to do a free giveaway. Maybe we'll do a Freightpreneur t-shirt. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Maybe we'll do a giveaway of that, maybe some cash. And then we're going to go into live Q&A. So if you have questions about the training or questions about starting a freight brokerage or becoming a freight agent or any of that, you can ask those questions at the end. Hold your questions to the end when we start the Q&A, and then I will do my absolute best to try to get to everybody's questions today. All right, so with that in mind, let's see what we got here. We have a whole bunch of people. Holy cow. We've got Nextlinks from Valley Stream, New York. Holistic Logistics from Kennesaw, Georgia. Devin from Markham, Illinois. Rex the Boy from Louisville, Kentucky. Blakely Friend, Phoenix, Arizona. Chad from Chicago. Eugene Stewart from Nantucket, Connecticut, I should say. Joe Mighty from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Novelty Logistics from Toronto. Faridla Global from Pakistan. Awesome. Aaron Deep from Tracy, California. Monica Haiti from Dallas, Texas. Monica from Kent, Washington. J.A. Hernandez from Dalton, Georgia. Black Cardinal Freight Brokers from Asheville, North Carolina. Haiti Clark from Dallas, Texas. Ads S from Tracy, California. Max from Brazil. Wow, now we got 3 different continents here. Sandra from Twin Falls, Idaho. Todd, welcome. B Grant 50 from Jacksonville, Florida. We got people from all over the place. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm humbled that you're here today. And I will do my absolute best to over-deliver on this promise to share with you 4 common mistakes that I see freight brokers making using LinkedIn to try to get shippers. All right. Like everything else, there's a right way and a wrong way. And I see a lot of people making these mistakes. Now, some people are able to learn from those mistakes and adjust, and other people just continue making those mistakes and then ultimately get super frustrated and then say, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work. Freight brokering sucks. They whine about that because they either don't learn from their mistakes or they don't invest in some sort of training or to try to improve their skills, right? That goes for everything in life. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. You can see here, I've got a bunch of notes, all right, to go over. And I'm just going to let a few more people get live, and then we are going to jump right into the training. Okay. I promise not to waste your time. The training will be relatively short. And then we're going to do a free giveaway. Assuming we have time, we'll do a free giveaway. And then we're going to do live Q&A if you stick around to the end. Now, here's the cool thing about the live Q&A. Not only can you ask questions, and I will do my best to answer them, but you will learn from the questions that you didn't ask, but somebody else asked. That's probably one of the coolest parts about this type of group format, is that you can learn from the questions and answers that other people have asked. Maybe you have that question tomorrow, but you didn't think about it today, and you can learn in advance. So that's one of the cool things about sticking around for the live. Even if you don't have questions, you can learn from the questions of others. All right, cool. So here we go, guys. Wow, I dropped it here. All right, so today I'm going to share with you 4 very common mistakes that I see freight brokers making when trying to use LinkedIn to get shippers. All right. Now, first of all, let's start out with what is LinkedIn. Some of you may not understand what LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional networking site. It's basically like a social media site combined with a almost like a business community, right? So I've been on LinkedIn for a long time. Have used LinkedIn to generate well over $20 million in annual recurring revenue for my own freight brokerage. And so LinkedIn is near and dear to my heart. And so I want to share with you again 4 mistakes that I see freight brokers making, very common mistakes that are easily corrected with just a little bit of work. Okay. So number 1 on the list is not making a good first impression because you failed to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Now, you can set up a free profile on LinkedIn, costs you absolutely zero. And the key is when you start that profile, it's a blank slate. And because of the background of LinkedIn, a lot of people treat their LinkedIn profile like a resume, and it's not a resume. It's more like a personal branding site. And so when you optimize your profile, there's a few things. I don't have time to get into a full optimization lesson today. I'm going to give you a few tips. Number 1, you have to have a good image, right? A good profile image, something that represents you, something that you might put on your business card, right? The second thing is you want to create a custom header image that goes across the top, something that positions you as an expert, focuses in and talks to your target market, builds credibility, right? So those sorts of things that are going to make a good first impression. You're also obviously going to want to make sure you have a good headline, right? Your headline or your title under your name. And it shouldn't be freight broker. It shouldn't be CEO. It shouldn't be entrepreneur. It should be something that speaks to your target market, something that differentiates you, something that gets their attention. Okay. And then obviously you got to have a good summary and job experience. But the most important part of the profile is the fact that you don't sound like a salesperson. You don't make it pitchy, right? Use it as a way to focus on helping people to understand that you are a resource and or an expert in your niche. All right. So that's number 1. They don't optimize their profile. And therefore, when somebody lands on that profile, it's very underwhelming and or it makes a negative first impression. All right. Number 2, treating LinkedIn like Tinder. Okay. Now, I've never personally been on Tinder, but Tinder is the really crazy dating app that a lot of people have used to get dates. Okay. And so, what I want you to understand, people that go on Tinder are going on there just to get dates, right? But here's the thing. What you have to understand is that LinkedIn is not like speed dating. You have to slow things down, right? It's not a platform where you can be very salesy. You have to slow your approach. You have to be a lot more subtle. You have to be a lot more patient. Okay. And so it's not a speed dating site. You have to slow things down. And, so here's the mistakes, right? Kind of when the common mistakes, when somebody does connect with you on LinkedIn, you all of a sudden beat them over the head with your pitch, right? All of a sudden you go into sales mode and you start trying to close them, right? So you beat them over the head with your pitch, or someone messages you or comments on one of your pieces of content, and all of a sudden you goes into sales mode and you start again beating them over the head with your pitch. That's a huge mistake. Okay. So number 2 was treating LinkedIn like Tinder. It's not speed dating. All right. Number 3, not leveraging content to attract your target market. Now, what do I mean by content? LinkedIn, very much like Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and all these different platforms, has the ability to release content, right? Where you can post content. Like, for example, some of you may be watching this live on LinkedIn. This is LinkedIn live content. Some of you might be watching this on YouTube or Facebook. But the fact is you can put content on LinkedIn and that content will help to attract your target market. Now, the content could be kind of like a micro blog post. It could be an image. It could be a video. It could be a live. You can do polls. There's all kinds of things you can do with content. But content is one of my favorite ways to find and connect and engage with my target market. I have personally generated thousands and thousands of sales leads using content that I put out there for my target market. They respond to that content. We then start a short dialogue, and that converts into a sales opportunity. Thousands of times I've been able to use content as a way to generate leads, interest, and to attract my target market. And most of you as freight brokers don't leverage it. All right. So that's number 3, not leveraging content to attract your target market, right? Number 4, talking to the wrong audience. All right. So if you are a freight broker or a freight agent and you are trying to get shippers, all right, and your niche is produce, I'm just going to use an example. You should be spending 90% of your time in conversations with people in and around the produce industry. You shouldn't be talking to salespeople or coaches or carriers or people that are not in your niche. You should be spending the majority of your time finding, connecting, and engaging with people in your target market. Because the problem is time is a precious commodity. And the next thing you know, you get on LinkedIn and you've spent 3 hours on there and you haven't even had a conversation with anybody in your target market. You go the whole day and you've never even made any headway. So I'd rather have you spend 15 to 30 minutes a day, but focus that time on actually finding and connecting with your target market. Okay. So yeah, that's a huge mistake. Talking to the wrong audience also, I'm stuttering today. I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but talking to your audience, talking to the wrong audience also includes not only doing outreach where you're actually sending connection requests to people, but it also includes in the comments of your content that you're either posting and or engaging with, right? So that's another one, the content piece. A lot of times I'll see when agents or brokers do post some content, they'll post content that's geared to the wrong audience. So rather than posting content that would be interesting to the produce industry, they are posting content that's interesting to freight brokers or to carriers or to marketers or entrepreneurs. Well, guess what? Shippers, you can't attract shippers with content that's not relevant to them. And so you have to be hyper relevant with the content that you are posting, right? So yeah, those are the 4. I'm going to review them really quick. Not optimizing your profile to make a good first impression. Treating LinkedIn like Tinder and beating your prospects over the head with your pitch. Number 3, not leveraging content as a way to attract your target market. And number 4, talking to the wrong audience, right? Spending too much time talking to the wrong people. All right. I'm going to give you a bonus number 5. Who wants a bonus? All right. So the bonus is this. I see a lot of people making a huge mistake by spamming people on LinkedIn with automated software. So there's a bunch of software providers out there that will provide software that will allow you to spam by sending out lots of connection requests, lots of LinkedIn messages, and even posting automatically to different posts online, right? Or creating automatic comments. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been on LinkedIn for well over a decade. I've seen a lot of it come and go. And I can tell you right now, it's a huge mistake. It's a huge mistake. I've even tried some of those softwares in years past. The fact is, number 1, it's against LinkedIn's terms of service, and they will shut you off. Number 2, ask yourself a question. Do you like to be spammed? If not, stop spamming everybody else. And number 3, a one size fits all approach to sending out the same message to 30 or 50 or 100 people doesn't work. It doesn't work. That one size fits all approach doesn't work. And so the fact is, those types of messages are very easy to spot. You can tell when they're very generic, and when they are, and you do spot it, you are automatically exposed as a fraud. Okay. So that was the bonus tip. So listen, if you guys want a free download, a free resource, I've called it How to Become a Freight Broker in 7 Simple Steps. Here's all you got to do. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com, www.freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can download that for free. It's absolutely free. And just so you guys know, if you guys are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent and you're looking for some help, we've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade. I've personally done over $200 million as a freight broker. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. You can check that one once again at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, like the post right now, like the stream, and make sure that if you're on YouTube, you hit the subscribe button and click that all notifications bell. Have an awesome day, and we'll be back next week with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. All right, so hang around. Don't disappear. Don't disappear, people. That was the training. What are we going to do next? We're going to do a giveaway. We'll do a free giveaway. I'll give away a t-shirt, okay? Freightpreneur t-shirt. And then we will go into the live Q&A, okay? So we're going to do a quick giveaway. Let me grab a drink. And then we will do the Q&A, all right? So, all right, so before we move on here to the giveaway, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question first. How many of you have tried to use LinkedIn to get shippers? Okay? How many of you have a LinkedIn profile and you've went on there and maybe tried to kick around the idea of finding, connecting, and engaging with shippers? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile and have tried to use it to get shippers? Talk to me here. Talk to me, Goose. All right. So we got a few people. Most of you are not using LinkedIn. So that's good. That means there's a huge opportunity for you. A whole nother resource that you're probably not tapping into as a way to find, connect, and engage with shippers in your target market. All right. So some of you are. So those of you that are, well, anybody who's watching this, right? I will tell you, one of the first things you need to do before you start doing outreach to your target market, whether it be by phone or by email or face-to-face or using LinkedIn, you have to fully optimize your profile. You have to build a profile that allows you to make a good first impression. It's not salesy, but it positions you as a resource, as an expert in your niche. Here's why. Because even when you do face-to-face outreach, or when you do email outreach or phone outreach, cold calling, one of the first things that people are going to do is they're going to search for you online. So if I left a voicemail or sent an email, and my name's Dennis Brown at XYZ Logistics, one of the first things people are going to do is they're going to search Google. And one of the first things that's going to come up on Google is your LinkedIn profile. Okay. So, and if that doesn't come up, right, then they may end up actually going to LinkedIn and searching for you. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why you want to do that. All right. I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but I thought that was important. I probably should have added that in the training or one of the tips, but all right, cool. So let's do the free giveaway. All right, let's do the free giveaway. Here it is. Really simple. Lean in, guys. Super, super quick here. Hold on a minute. All right, super quick. Here's what I need you to do. Pull out your cell phone right now. Pull out your mobile phone, your Android phone, your iPhone, whatever it is. And what I want you to do is I want you to go into your podcast app, whatever podcast app. Usually it's going to be Apple Podcast or maybe Google Podcast. If you're on Apple, use Apple Podcast. If you're on Google, then you can use Spotify or any other podcast app. Usually wherever they play music now, they play podcasts too. Okay. Pandora, whatever. So go into that app, whatever that app is on your cell phone. And I want you to search for Freight Broker Bootcamp Audio Experience. If you just search Freight Broker Bootcamp, what you'll see is a podcast will come up. My free podcast will come up. It's absolutely free. It's 100% free. Costs you absolutely nothing. And what I need you to do, we've got over 100 free trainings on here, I believe. Let's see, 100. Yeah, we've got 130 free trainings on here, audio only trainings. All you got to do is subscribe, or sometimes they call it follow the podcast. Okay. and then rate and review the podcast. That's it. So subscribe, rate, and review. Once you do that, whether you're on Apple or Google or wherever you're at, come back into the comments and let me know that you subscribed, rated, and reviewed on Apple, on Google, on Spotify, wherever you did it. But listen carefully. Let me know in the comments that you subscribed, rated, and reviewed, all three. So you got to type it out. Can't just say done. Can't just say subscribed. You got to say subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple, subscribed, rated, review on Spotify. Sorry to be so anal, but the only way you can get picked is if you do it that way. If you just say subscribed or done, you can't be picked. Okay, it's as simple as that. So I'm going to randomly pick one winner. We're going to give away a free t-shirt. Freightpreneur, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. I'm going to give this shirt away, not this one because it probably stinks a little bit, but I will give you a shirt. You'll get it in the next week to 2 weeks. Oh, one comment. You have to be in the United States because I don't ship these internationally. Okay, so if you're in the US, you can play along on this giveaway. If I do another giveaway, maybe you guys, non-US people will be able to participate, but US only for this specific giveaway. Okay. All right. So hit me up in the comments. All right. Sandra did it right. Awesome. I don't know, Malik. You got to look. I don't even know if we're on iHeartRadio. I would assume we probably are. I don't know. Malik, find one of those apps. If you're on Apple, if you have an iPhone, you automatically have the podcast app on your phone automatically. It's automatically installed on there. If you're not on Apple, download Spotify or one of the other ones. Okay. Blakely did it. Anna did it. Anna. Love it. She listens to it while mowing the lawn. I love it. That's awesome. Listen, podcasts are one of my favorite things in the world. I'm telling you. I have 2 podcasts. I've started 2 podcasts in the last decade. But I'm a huge fan. I listen to podcasts all the time. I mean, it's crazy. I listen to them when I'm driving. I listen to them when I'm working out. I listen to them when I'm walking the dogs. I listen to them when I'm hunting. I listen to them all the time. Okay. I love podcasts. All right, cool. All right. So we're going to give one more minute for people to enter the giveaway. And I'm going to randomly pick one person that subscribes, rates, and reviews the podcast. Now, this is an honor system, but if I do pick you and I find out you're not subscribed, I can't send you the shirt. Okay. So you got to make sure you're subscribed, rated, reviewed the podcast. And again, it's an honor system. So we're going to give it another 30 seconds to do that. And then we are going to go into the live Q&A. Hold your questions for now. Hold your questions, please. Don't do them yet because they're going to get lost in the feed. All right. And I want to try to get to everybody's questions. The reality is I'm not going to get to everybody's questions. All right. But I'll get to a bunch, as many as time allot. All right, cool. All right, guys. So here we're going to do the giveaway. I'm going to scroll through in my very non-scientific formula for doing this. And I'm going to point my mouse to one person. And the winner is Blakely Friend. Blakely Friend is the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Congratulations. Subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple Podcasts. He did it perfect. So thank you so much for playing along. Everybody, listen, Blakely, in order for you to claim your prize, here's all you got to do. Go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Okay? Like the page and then message me through that page with your full name and address, your size, and that you won the podcast t-shirt giveaway. All of that needs to be included. Your full name and address, your size, don't forget that. These are unisex sizing. This is pretty true to form. Most men are going to fit in medium, large, right? And then that you won the podcast subscribe t-shirt giveaway. All right. If you do that, you'll get a shirt. I'll process this out. We'll get it sent to you. You'll get it typically within a couple of weeks. All right. So thank you all for playing along. Listen, those of you that subscribe to the podcast, you absolutely can't lose. There's over 100 free trainings there. I release 2 new trainings every single week. It's audio only. It's 100% free. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you do, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it. Make sure you tell some of your friends. Appreciate it. By the way, we've been ranked in the top 100 out of all entrepreneur podcasts on Apple. Now, just know that may not seem big to you, but that's huge. There are tens of thousands of entrepreneur podcasts on Apple. I promise you. So we've been ranked in the top 100, and that's all because of you, all the people that are enjoying the podcast. So thank you so much for being part of the community and for listening. Okay. All right. So I can't listen to it while I'm listening to you. Probably not. All right, cool. So, all right, let's jump into Q&A. Just know something up front. Number one, I'm not going to get to everybody's question. Number two, I don't know the answer to every question. I will do my absolute best. And number three, we're limited on the time we have, but I will do my best to try to get to the questions that you guys put down here. Try to keep your questions very short and very specific. Okay, I know that that's kind of contrary, short and specific. Be specific, but try to be brief. All right? So hit me up in the comments with your questions, and I will do my absolute best to try to answer them. In most cases, we have way more questions than we have time. So let's see what we got here. All right. Oh, here's a good question. Prince Moriah asked, do I need a logistics degree to be successful as a freight broker agent? Absolutely not. I don't have a degree in logistics. I didn't even really know what a freight broker was when I first got started as a freight broker. Most of my students, I would tell you that 9 out of 10 of my students don't have experience in logistics, freight, or transportation. I mean, some of them may have been truck drivers, but they don't have the other side of the equation. And so, no, you do not need a degree in order to become a freight broker. Matter of fact, there is no exam, there's no certification, there's no test. Now, if you want to become a freight broker, you will either need to be a licensed freight broker through the FMCSA, which is an application process, or you will need to work under a licensed freight broker. And in that case, you're typically a freight broker agent, right? And that makes you're still an independent contractor, but you are working under a licensed freight broker. So I hope that helps. But no, you do not need a degree in order to become a freight broker or freight agent. Good question. I don't think I've ever had that one before. That's good. Okay. All right. Haiti Clark asks a really good question. What's the best way to quote partials comparing with spot DAT market info? All right. So just so you guys know, there's basically 3 types of loads. There's full truckload, which is exclusive use. You use the whole truck. Okay. If it's a 53-foot van, you're paying for the whole van. There are LTL, which is less than truckload, which is typically smaller, 1 pallet, 2 pallets, 3 pallets, usually less than 10 feet of space in that truck. Okay. That's LTL. And then there are partial truckloads. Now, partial truckloads is anything that's bigger than an LTL shipment, but less than a full truckload. All right. So partial truckloads might be a half of a truck, or, you're taking up the capacity of half of a truck, or a third of the truck, or maybe even 2/3 of the truck, right? But that carrier is going to load other freight on that truck as a way to optimize their revenue. So you may have 2 or 3 or 4 different shippers on that one in that one truck. All right, just understand that. So I wanted to give you a little bit of baseline there for that. Now, partial truckloads, pricing partial truckloads, there is no exact science to it, because in most cases, most carriers do not post their truck as a partial. Now, some people that specialize in that will. So sometimes it's hard to identify carriers that are looking for partials. But I'll give you a little bit of a framework on how you can get close on the rates with partials. So the first thing you need to understand is, what is the cost of a full truckload in that lane? So if a full truckload from Buffalo to Atlanta, okay, for a van load, I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Let's say the full truckload rate for that lane is, I don't know, let's call it $2,000. I'm just giving a round number. And that's the full truckload rate. And you have a partial that's going from Buffalo to Atlanta. Say you have a half truckload, right? Your natural tendency is to say, well, it'll cost $1,000 because it's half of a full truckload. And I can tell you that 90% of the time that's going to be wrong. Okay? It's going to be wrong. And because the advantage of a carrier running a partial truckload is that they can charge more by piecing out the truck than they can by selling the whole truck. So if they could do a full truckload for $2,000, they're probably looking to make $3,000 or $4,000 on if they're going to consolidate partials. So you have to take that into consideration. So I think that if you look at the cost of a full truckload and you look at what portion of the truck you're going to be using and you break it down into, like, say, half or quarter, just know that as a general rule, when I did this type of pricing, I would basically, for a half truckload, if I were going to price it out to a customer, I would typically take that half truckload, the full truckload, I would cut it in half, which would be 1,000. And then I would add 50% on top of that as a baseline. So rather than, if a full truckload is 2,000, a half truckload might be 1,500. And now if you've got a quarter truckload, if it was a $2,000 load, right, that would be 500. So we would add an extra 50% on top of that. That would be $750 for a quarter truckload. Does that make sense? So if a full truckload is 2,000 and you're going to do a partial truckload of a half, that might be 1,500. And if you're going to do a partial truckload of a quarter truck, it's probably going to be more like 750 to 1,000. All right. So that'll give you a little bit of a baseline. Now, that is not an exact science, but it's going to give you a starting point when you go and reach out to carriers and start negotiating, right? You know, you're going to need to negotiate below that a little bit in order to add your margin on top. So that's a little bit of a framework. I should probably do a complete training on partial truckloads. Shipping partials is a very underserved market when it comes to brokers. Most brokers are scared to death of partials for that exact reason, pricing. So I'm happy to see, Haiti, that you are pursuing partial truckloads, and I think that should give you a little bit of a framework. Hopefully that helps. Let me know in the comments if that did help. Okay, so Anna asks, what is your favorite LinkedIn conversation starters and topics? All right, so we're going to give you two different formats here. One is if you're going to do this by engaging with other people's content. Let's say, for example, someone in your target market in the steel industry posted, did some sort of a LinkedIn post, and they posted some content. So if you're going to engage with that content to try to develop a relationship, to get them to know, like, and trust you, right? So you can start a dialogue, you're going to want to make that comment under that content very hyper relevant to the post. So, rather than just saying, hey, great post, or, I like the post, or thanks, or things of that nature, you're going to want to be a little bit more compelling. You're going to want to either give some relevant insight that you can share about that post, or you're going to want to ask some additional questions as a way to draw them into a dialogue. Okay. So that is how you would do it within content where you're trying to start a dialogue through somebody else's content. Now, if you're going to do it through sending a LinkedIn connection request or messaging prospects, the key there is you're going to have to gather sales intelligence, right? Gathering sales intelligence. Sales intelligence is any data that you can collect that enhances your opportunity to get the sale. So you can gather sales intelligence from the company's website, from Google, from LinkedIn. There's a lot of places where you can gather sales intelligence, and you're going to want to use that sales intelligence to create compelling sales hooks and to create compelling topics that are relevant, hyper relevant to that target market. You hear me saying relevant over and over and over again. That is the key word, right? When you want to have a meaningful conversation with somebody, you have to be relevant. Number one, you have to be relevant, which means you have to have an optimized profile. Number two, you have to speak their language. And number three, you have to engage them in a format that is important and contextual to them. It's not about you. It's about them. So you got to put yourself in their shoes and think about the things that you would use to, to attract them and to start that dialogue. So sales intelligence that you can use is recent press releases. You could use something as simple as their geography, right? If you know they're based in Atlanta and you were in Atlanta this summer, you could use that. If you know they're based in Atlanta and your favorite team is the Atlanta Falcons, that could be a perfect example of a non-business, non-salesy type of piece of sales intelligence that you could use to start a dialogue. Now, I'm not telling you to have a bunch of meaningless conversations, and eventually you're going to have to pivot that into business. But here's the thing. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. First, they got to know who you are. That's what the profile's for. Second, they got to like you. They got to like you as a person, and then they have to trust you. So what things do you have to do in order to get there? And so I hope that answers your question. I hope that helps. You're going to vet a drayage carrier the same way as you're going to vet any other carriers, right? Vetting them, you're going to have to make sure they have the proper carrier authority. You're going to make sure they have the proper insurance. You have to make sure they have proper safety history, right? Now, if they are, some of them are going to be DOT carriers, intrastate carriers, and some of them are going to be interstate carriers, right? So, the vetting process will be relatively the same, right? And then, of course, you're going to have to sign your broker carrier agreement and so on and so forth. As far as finding them, the best place to find them is probably going to be on the load boards, right? Most likely on load boards, or maybe referrals from other drayage carriers that you've done business with, or maybe referrals from other shippers that you've done business with. Yeah, I mean, load boards would be the first place I would go. All right, so D'Anthony Rogers asks, if possible, explain intermodal and drayage. Okay, so intermodal simply means multiple modes of transportation. So let's take intermodal rail, for example. There's three: intermodal air, intermodal ocean, intermodal rail. Let's take intermodal rail. Here's how it works. There's three parts to this movement. A truck is going to pick up the freight at the pickup location. It's going to drive it to the rail. They're going to transload it onto a rail car. That rail car is going to take it the longer line haul distance, and then it's going to get put onto it. They're going to transload it onto another truck, and then that's going to get delivered to the delivery location. So it's truck, rail, truck, three different parts. This is trucking company A. This is rail provider. This is trucking company B. It's a three-part move. The same thing applies. Now, the trucking component of that is called drayage. Okay? The rail is the rail. If you were doing that for ocean, it's ocean or air. The same applies for all three of those different forms of intermodal. So I hope that helps. Okay, Malik asked an interesting question. When getting shippers, is it more about quantity or quality? Well, if you're talking about prospecting and using outreach and filling your funnel, it's kind of a hybrid, okay? And it's somewhat subjective what you mean quality versus quantity. So I'm going to tell you it's a combination. Here's the thing. I'm not a huge believer of super high volume cold calling. I do not believe that you have to make 150 or 200 cold calls a day in order to get a shipper. I don't believe that you should have to do that if you develop your skills. Plus, that type of high volume outreach will burn you out. Number one, it'll burn out your target market very quickly because there's just, how many leads are in your target market. Number two, it's going to burn you out very quickly because you're going to be getting an enormous amount of rejection if you're not building your skills and having a customized type approach, because a one size fits all approach is not a winning approach, in my opinion, for freight broker sales. And so I'm not a big believer in super high volume outreach. Now, some people might have issue with that. I don't really care. I can tell you that I've never would have to make 100 phone calls in a day in order to get a shipper. I promise you. But that's because I've developed my skills. If you develop your skills, you won't have to either. So I believe that it's a balance, but if I had to focus and break it up, it's a combination of quality and quantity, but quality would be number one. And what I mean by quality is taking one step, taking a few minutes to gather some sales intelligence so you educate yourself about your prospect, right? So that's the quality list, right? So gathering sales intelligence, creating and coming up with a sales hook that's relevant to that prospect based on that sales intelligence. Now, that can apply for phone or for email or for LinkedIn. All of that applies, as well as face-to-face. So gathering sales intelligence when you're leveraging any of those outreach channels, those sales channels, is very important. That goes into the quality bucket. Now, here's the thing. If you only make one quality contact a day, meaning you're only doing one contact a day and you're focused on quality, that's not going to be enough quantity. So I would tell you that I would much prefer you as a startup broker to do 30 to 50 high quality outreaches per day than to do 100 or 150 generic one size fits all. I sound like every other broker out there. So I hope that helps. Richard asks, how do I execute my niche for port freight? The same way as you execute any other niche. Number one, you got to do your research. Okay. Number two, you have to make a list of shippers that are in that niche, right? And then you have to start doing outreach. And the research includes rating and carriers and lanes and important, relevant topics and information that are around that niche. You have to educate yourself on that niche. And then making a list of prospects. And then you have to pick which channel you're going to use or what channels you're going to use to do outreach. You're going to do cold calling. You're going to do cold email. You're going to do face-to-face. You're going to use LinkedIn. Are you going to use all of them like I teach in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, right? My Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program is where I take that piece of my brain. It's closed right now. It's sold out. You can't enroll right now, but so I'm sorry about that. But if you want to get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, the next time I open it, let me see here. Oh, here it is right here. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. The Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is a 5-week coaching program where I take this piece of my brain and I teach you everything about my favorite freight broker strategies, tactics, tools, and I share with you my entire system, the proven system that I developed that's allowed me to generate over $200 million as a freight broker. I've taught hundreds of people this system. Many of them have went on to build 6, 7, 8-figure brokerages. And so, again, if you want to get on the wait list, you can enroll right now. It's closed, and it's not a free program, right? So, yeah, if you want to get on the wait list, make sure you check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. Okay? So, I hope that answers your question. Let me scroll. Okay, so Elliot asks a question. What's the ideal next step after connecting? Asking personalized questions or just getting another form of contact and continue conversation there? Okay, well, Elliot, that's an interesting question. I think that if possible, you should continue the dialogue inside of LinkedIn until you build enough rapport where you feel comfortable that you could easily convert it into a phone call or a face-to-face meeting or an email. So remember what I said in this lesson, right? In this training, I said, it's not Tinder. We're not speed dating, okay? Just because someone connects with you doesn't mean you can go for the jugular, right? And going for the jugular is subjective, right? Going for the jugular with some people is asking them if you could quote on their freight, right? Or getting into sales mode. Other people might feel as though if you start asking for their email or their phone number, that might be a little bit too quick. So my suggestion is after you connect with somebody, continue the dialogue on LinkedIn for a little bit and then convert it. That's what I would say. Yes. Once I start my brokerage and I'm new to the freight brokerage scene, can I still be successful on LinkedIn despite being new to the industry? Yeah, absolutely. Perfect example. Lita Hakabayan, one of my students, was brand new freight broker, had no experience in freight brokerage, and set up her LinkedIn profile and initially struggled a little bit, but started getting really good traction using LinkedIn, and she built a six-figure business doing that, using LinkedIn. Not doing an enormous amount of cold calling. She was using LinkedIn. That was her primary strategy. I've had Mike Burke is another student of mine that's done the exact same thing. Ajmal Baraksai, which is another student of mine who I've interviewed, the exact same thing. Use LinkedIn. None of these guys had experience. These people had experience in freight brokerage, but set up their LinkedIn profile. They optimized their profile, and then they leveraged it as a way to start and connect and engage with their target market, and it converted into dollars and cents for them. So no, you don't need experience in order to leverage LinkedIn. I have no idea, Lado. I have no idea. I'd have to do research. I don't know. If you want to find out who's hiring, okay, that are past students of mine, the best place to go is freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs. That is the only one of a kind freight broker and freight agent specific job board. It's the only job board dedicated specifically to freight brokers and freight agents. I put it together in the last year or two. You can post jobs for free there if you're hiring people in the freight and logistics industry. And you can also apply for jobs if you are looking for a freight broker or freight agent job. It's all free. Okay. So that's where I would go, Lado, if I were you, to try to find people that are hiring. Sorry, give me 1 minute. I'm scrolling through questions here. Okay, so here's a question. What job titles are the best when choosing who to talk to on LinkedIn? All right, so think about it. Shipping managers, logistics managers, warehouse managers, transportation managers, okay? Maybe even an operations manager. It's not direct, but you'll get somebody who's in operations who will know. But I'd say those other ones: shipping manager, warehouse manager, transportation manager, logistics manager. Those four will probably consume 80+% of the people that you'll end up doing, the titles of people you'll end up doing business with. Load planner might be another one. That's a little bit more niche, but traffic manager might be another one. You run into that sometimes. So I hope that helps. Same place. Where do you find freight brokerages to hire with no experience? freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs. I'd say more than half of the job posts on there don't require experience. Most freight brokers that are hiring agents don't require experience. Here's the thing. When you go to the largest freight brokers out there, or the freight brokers out there that are posting the most ads to attract agents, those are larger companies that have tons of agents. They don't need or want new agents. You need to find smaller to medium-sized companies that are looking to grow rapidly. And those are the ones that will give you an opportunity as a new agent. If you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs, you'll probably find a bunch. It's why I created that job board. And trust me, it's expensive. I think it cost me almost $10,000 a year to do that job board, to have that job board. It generates me zero revenue, but it's a benefit that I put together for all the members. Malik asks, is talking about gas prices and their effects on their business? Is talking about gas prices and their effects on their business. You're asking, is that a good topic? Sure. Yeah, it's a relevant topic. How are fuel prices impacting your business? I mean, it's a question. It's a legitimate question. The only thing I mean, I might use it. The only thing I'm a little hesitant of is that it's focused on price. It becomes we're talking about price right away, and I don't like to talk about price. Price. I really don't like to, because I don't want them to focus on rates. If rates is their number one concern, I'm probably not a good fit, because I'm never going to be the cheapest. Never, ever, never. Zero, zilch, nada. I'm never going to be the cheapest. My goal is to never, ever be the cheapest, but I'm going to provide the most value. Monique, you don't need insurance in North Carolina as a freight broker. You don't need insurance as a freight broker anywhere. You don't need contingent cargo. You don't need general liability. Those are optional coverages. If you want those types of insurance, general liability, you'll probably get with the local and business insurance agent. You'll find somebody who specializes in business coverage. And if you're looking for contingent cargo, there are a bunch of companies out there that specialize in that. Contingent cargo, off the top of my head, I can't think of all the different agencies out there, but there are a bunch out there. If you search contingent cargo, freight broker, contingent cargo insurance, you'll see a bunch on Google. What's the best approach to reach out to a person who accepts your connection request on LinkedIn? I send tailored messages based on the type of shipper with a generic company intro, niche, temp controlled. Okay. So I like everything you just said, except for the fact of sending your company info. They don't need your company info via email, and it's too salesy. If they want your company info, they'll just look on your profile. Okay. So I think it's too soon, too early to start applying that type of sales pressure. It becomes very transparent that you're there to do nothing but pitch them. Okay. When in reality, you just want to get to know them. Then you want them to like you. Then you want them to trust you. So I think it's a little early to include your company info or attach it. I would never do that. That's just my personal opinion. Mileage may vary. But my goal is to start a dialogue. Use gathering sales intelligence and make it hyper relevant, the message to them, with the objective of getting them to reply to me and start a dialogue. So that's why I use a compelling sales hook. That's why I created the entire framework of how to create a sales hook, a winning sales hook, in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. Okay. And once again, if you want to be a part of that program, you want to get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's the only way you can get on the list. And it's the only way you'll have a chance in the future to be a part of that program. And again, it's not open right now. It's sold out, but it will open up probably sometime during Q1. Okay. So somewhere between maybe February and March, I would assume, but I'm not positive yet. All right. So get on the wait list. I'm scrolling. Yeah, Kiara, is there anything in the Freight Broker Bootcamp that can test you after you're done reading to make sure you know the material? We don't have a test or an ultimate test that you have to pass in order to graduate. We've debated on doing that in the past. I even polled users, and the poll came back that most people didn't want a test. So I haven't implemented it. It's something I could consider in the future. But right now, the information is there. All the information is there. It's going to walk you through step by step what you got to do in order to go from step A to Z. And again, we offer a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. But no, I don't have a built-in exam or test in there. So maybe in the future. Kiara asks, what do you need to become just an agent instead of a broker? If you are just going to become an agent, you need very little. The startup process and cost is very little. Number one, you need some basic training. So you got to get trained. Second of all, you need to find a broker that is willing to hire you as an agent, right? We've been talking about that. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/jobs. There are all kinds of people there that are hiring experienced and inexperienced agents, right? The third thing you'll have to do is you will have to, as a part of the brokerage, you'll get set up with a load board, most likely, and their TMS. Those are the 3 steps. Get some basic training, connect and partner with a broker that you can work under, and then get set up with their technology so that you can start moving loads. And then, of course, you're going to have to do outreach, right? You're going to have to start finding and connecting and engaging with shippers in your niche as a way to start generating loads and freight and profit. So I hope that helps. But yeah, you don't need a license. You don't need a surety bond. You don't need, there's no exams. There's no nothing. All right. Super low barrier to entry to become an agent. I highly recommend, if people do not have experience in the industry, that's a great place to start. Because if you can't make money as an agent, you're definitely not going to make money as a broker. And you can always switch from agent to broker later, a year or 2 years or 5 years down the road, and you may just choose to stay an agent. I mean, I've had agents that work for me that made over $100,000 a month in profit. Now, most people are never going to do that. And some of you may become agents and you may never make a dime. But I can tell you that the opportunity to make a lot of money as an agent is there, with a lot less risk and a lot less stress. And if you can't make money as an agent, you're definitely not going to make money as a broker. So I highly recommend it's a great place to start. Tony, I have used LinkedIn Navigator. Yeah. If you can, I would highly suggest Navigator. It's a great program. It's a paid subscription program, but if you can't generate more revenue than that subscription cost, then you're doing something horribly wrong. And I'm not necessarily speaking to you. I'm just speaking in general. Malik asks, is it smart to talk to carriers about shippers they deal with or for referrals? Well, here's the thing. If a shipper is doing business direct, or if a carrier is doing business direct with a shipper, they're probably not going to give you a referral because you're competition. But if a shipper is operating through another broker and they happen to pick up at or deliver to a certain shipper's location, that might be a great way to approach them about a referral program, where if they refer them to you, if they know the person and they have a relationship with the shipping manager and they can refer you in, then you pay them some sort of referral fee, either a one-time fee or an ongoing fee, which I'm a bigger fan of, if they become a shipper of yours, a customer of yours. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. All right, guys, listen, we're going to wrap it up for today. If I stay here for another hour, I know you guys will come up with an hour worth of questions. If I didn't get to your question today, sorry about that. I'll try to come back in the next week and maybe answer some of the questions in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the training, do me a huge favor. If you enjoyed the training, make sure, no matter where you're at, click the subscribe button, the follow button. If you're on YouTube, click subscribe and then the all notifications bell. That will make sure that you get notified every time I do a live, every time I release a new video. All right. Click the subscribe and all notifications bell. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the training. I will be back next Monday at noon with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. If you guys are looking for a free resource, if you're looking to get started and you want a free resource that can walk you through the steps, it's absolutely free. It's called, it's a report that I put together, a free download called How to Become a Freight Broker in 7 Simple Steps. Okay. All you got to do is go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Let me see, freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Yeah, just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com and you can download that for free. It costs you absolutely zero. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And I'll see you next week on another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.